videos up. What's up, boys and girls? Don't see anybody in there. Just made us live, so stick around. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be in with Paul Markel, student of the gun, in about 4 minutes, so hang tight with us. We are live for you where you are choosing to watch us, which will be YouTube or X. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. The Friday edition, Greg's favorite day of the week, is upon us. Friday edition of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense here in the CZ studios in front of this Patriot Mobile microphone at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, my brother? It's your favorite day of the week. I have to admit, I was looking forward to this Friday. I said that yesterday.
Yeah, that's correct. TGI Friday.
Correctamundo. Yeah, it's one of those days. Yeah, I by the way, I think Kate Unger is watching today over at Attorneys on Retainer, and Kate and I are going to play a game today. She has homework, and I told her a little story about my Righteous Guitar mug, and here it is, Kate, if you're watching. The question is, Greg, what is Mark drinking out of the Righteous Guitar tumbler today? Hold on. Can you tell? That one's on you, Kate. You get 3 guesses. If you get them right, you get a signed copy of each of my books. We talked earlier today. Greg, you can tell people where we're at. We're at all locations, brother. Well, the 2. I guess that's all the locations. If there were,
it's 3, technically.
Technically 3. Go for it and tell people where to get in the chat. We'll go to Paul Markel. We have some breaking news out of Virginia we want to talk about.
Yeah, places you can watch the show. One's going to be YouTube. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. You can also head on over to armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon, then select your watch live or listen live option. And you can also watch us over on X. Just do a search for @AAR Mark. To join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That'll do it. I see Paul Markel, who is extremely comfortable on the radio today on the couch. It's great to be able to see Paul. Paul, how are you today, my friend?
Oh, I'm just great. I'm just dandy.
Well, we have some breaking news out of Virginia, but I have to ask first, what are you drinking out of your mug?
Oh, I am drinking. What's the dark blend? The Blackout Coffee dark blend.
Oh, there's a bunch of blackout dark blends.
It escapes me, but it's a Blackout Brutal Awakening.
Oh,
that's it.
Yeah, Brutal Awakening.
Brutal remembering that.
Yeah. Maybe Greg just said it was brutal remembering that, huh? No, Blackout's got some great stuff. And Greg, while we're on Blackout, Paul brought it up. Ask me how many Blackout coffees I had today to start my day today.
How many pots of Blackout coffee did you have to start your day?
1 pot, 2.5 cups.
All right.
And this is, and I told Kate this earlier, Kate, this is not Blackout coffee in this. Okay, but it's a safe beverage, but you can have fun with that. I'll give you another sip later, and you can tell. Paul, we have breaking news out of Virginia, so how about we go there? You ready for this?
Might as well.
Might as well on a Friday. Virginia Citizens Defense League, ladies and gentlemen. I had a text exchange earlier today with Phil Van Cleve. Phil Van Cleve, by the way, will be on the Sunday Monstercast to talk about this in much, much greater detail. But Governor Spanberger, the Wicked Witch of the East, did, in fact, sign the assault weapons ban last night at approximately 11 p.m. She waits till it's dark at night. You know, the Democrats do that, Paul. Why not do it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and have a big signing ceremony if you're so
Well, they're
high
so
on it?
proud of it.
And why not? You know, why do it in the middle of the night?
When Kumo.
Yeah, New York.
I don't know. Remember when Kumo did the middle of the night shenanigans where they went behind closed doors?
Yeah. 2:30 in the morning.
We shouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's their MO.
Yeah, and they're good at it, and that's okay. We knew this was coming. Talked a little bit. There's a couple options. She could have just let it go, and Jared Yanis was mentioning the other day, the 22nd of May. We had to pay attention to that date. Well, this bill is signed. This bill goes into effect on July 1, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I want to confirm that. I believe it is July 1. But again, I do want to solidly confirm that, but I'm 99.9% sure it's July 1. Here's the message to Virginia Citizens Defense League members. So, guys, if you're not a member, join, please, vcdl.org, and get these memos, because we are all Virginians right now. The governor and the gun controllers in the General Assembly have made yet another misjudgment by coming after the rights of Virginian gun owners. The U.S. Supreme Court has already said that government can't ban the most popular firearms in America, like the AR-15 and the AK-47. VCDL and GOA dropped our lawsuit against the assault firearm ban today in Virginia court. Other lawsuits from national organizations have dropped in federal court, and the U.S. Department of Justice has publicly said their lawsuit is also coming. Luckily, our opponent is Attorney General Jay Jones, who will probably file his defense in the wrong court in Virginia. I wouldn't be surprised. And then they link to the suit. So let's just go to, because I was looking through this prior to the show, let's go to number 16 and 17. John Crump, by the way, is named as the plaintiff, and then VCDL, GOA, et cetera. We love John Crump. But even if he could, a relevant historical tradition of regulation provides no justification for laws restricting weapons that are unquestionably in common use today. That's Bruin, 597 U.S. at 47. Bans on popular weapons, quote unquote, are simply invalid. Heller, 554 U.S. at 629, because, quote, the traditions of the American people demand our unqualified deference. Bruin, 597 U.S. at 26. Indeed, Heller already foreclosed prohibiting an entire class of arms that is overwhelmingly chosen by American society for a lawful purpose. That, too, is from Heller, 554 at number 628. Number 17, the items banned by the challenge statutes are unquestionably in common use today. They are ubiquitous among American gun owners. In fact, military-style, quote-unquote, assault weapons, including AR-15 rifles, AK-47 rifles, and 50-caliber sniper rifles, are both widely legal and bought by many ordinary consumers. And the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the country. Smith & Wesson brands the Estados Unidos Mexicanos, that's the case that Mexico lost. See also Staples v. United States. Semi-automatic rifles traditionally have been widely accepted as lawful, and it goes on to name case law after case law after case law. Paul, when you hear that, let's dive down a few holes here. It is really pathetic that Virginia was forced to do this in the first place. And the reason they're forced to do this in the first place, that's statement number one that we can lead to discussion. The reason they're forced to do this is because the Supreme Court of the United States has failed to get off its duff and take one of these cases that they had before them, most notably the Fourth Circuit case. Still, that was a Snopes case originally. That's why we're here today. But even worse than that, we're here because of Democrats who just don't care. So there's three angles we could talk about for 3 hours. Take your pick. Have at it.
All right, step number one. When did the United States of America become a democracy?
It's not. It's a republic if you can keep it.
Did I miss that? Okay, so as a constitutional republic, you do not have to be in the majority in order to enjoy inalienable rights. So while I totally appreciate the fact that we have attorneys that are making these legal arguments and so forth, the fact of the matter is we, the people of the United States, have completely failed the moment we allowed the government to make the case that something that is, quote, not in common use or not popular or is in limited use or what have you, can be regulated, restricted, and banned. I know it's redundant, and I know people are like, oh, it's just overly simplistic. No, it's not overly simplistic. If you allow a government to say, well, this thing is not popular or not in common use, therefore we can prohibit it. That's not a representative republic. That's not a constitutional republic. What that is it sounds like, well, number one, it's tyranny, but number two, it sounds like you're saying, well, as long as someone is the most popular or a person, we are not a democracy. The reason we're not a democracy is because our founders knew that democracies always devolve to mob rule. They always devolve to a situation where the majority persecutes the minority. Hence the reason we have a Bill of Rights. And this idea, it's like this whole nonsense about legitimate sporting purpose. Where in the Constitution of the United States to include the Bill of Rights is the verbiage legitimate sporting purpose? There was no legitimate sporting purpose going on April 19th, 1775. Can we be honest there?
Absolutely. Although
April 19th,
I could make
no
the argument.
legitimate sporting purpose.
I could make the argument it was sporting purposes.
Was it good sport?
Right. We could make that. Yeah, we're not going to, but we could have. Listen, Paul, we're getting ready to take a break, so I'm going to stop you right there. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking with Paul Markel, student of the gun. That's Paul Markel, SOTGU, AAR.com. And we're going to continue the conversation. And one place I want to attack, not attack, but go after here is, did we really let this happen?
20.
Did we? I'll explain when we come back. Did we allow this to happen? Let's talk about that with Paul when we come back. I'm not sure we did. I'll explain right after this. Yeah, welcome back indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense continues here in the CZ studios. Mark Walters in front of this very powerful and platinum Patriot Mobile Command Center microphone here at the ranch. I got the Patriot Mobile hat on today. I've got a Patriot Mobile phone here that we're feverishly working on right now because the plaintiff in the Virginia case, John Crump, is in the chat, tuned in, and watching the live stream today. So we're trying to get John on the phone with us now. Greg is working behind the scenes to do that, and we will certainly be trying to bring John into the program here momentarily. Of course, John Crump is named as the plaintiff, one of the plaintiffs, as an individual in this lawsuit, and we want to hear from him right away. We love John Crump, and it's going to be great to have him here. In the meantime, Paul Markel, student of the gun, welcome back in, my brother. It's always a pleasure to have you here. So,
yeah, we could just slum with Paul until we get John on.
Slum with Paul.
Have you looked at the Virginia state symbol?
Yeah, what about
or coat of arms? You know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
You know what it looks like, right?
Go ahead, read it out loud,
what
everybody.
What does it say on it?
Read it. I don't have it in front of me, but I know where you're going with it. I don't recall it exactly.
It says "Sic semper tyrannis." Okay, always to tyrants.
Yep.
Right. So there's the lady freedom or man freedom or whatever with his foot on the tyrant's throat. And it's funny that we're talking about this because you know how if you have a Fascist Book account, that Fascist Book will say, "Hey, here's a memory. 6 years ago today, you posted this. 7 years ago today, or whatever." So my memory from Fascist Book this morning was I had posted the state symbol with "Sic semper tyrannis," and I said Virginia residents might want to remember or take a look at their own state symbol. You say, well, 6 years ago, what was going on 6 years ago? 6 years ago was when the vast majority, and I'm sorry to say, but it was, the majority of Americans decided that they would allow their government to abuse them in the name of safety. Because that's where all gun control comes from, right? Mm-hmm. As long as we can drive it as a safety issue, then we can do whatever we want. And we allowed, and I say we, the grand we, the people of the United States, allowed state, local, federal, city governments to abuse us as a people in the name of safety. Now, it's been 6 years, and people want to get over it, and they want to get past it. But I would ask you, how many of those people that abuse their authority, abuse their power, how many of the chiefs of police, sheriffs, how many county health commissioners, and so on and so forth, that blatantly abused the people and violated their rights have been held accountable?
Well, none. That maybe some. You can't say never or none or all.
Maybe a few lost an election.
Right? Maybe a few have lost an election. Maybe a few. I mean, we're trying to get at somebody like James Comey, stuff like that. There's been efforts and attempts made at that, but for the most part, you are correct. Sadly, as a broad brush, most people are not held accountable, and as a result of that, we get what we get. But this takes me back to the question I asked as we were going to the break when you mentioned, how did we let? I'm not sure we did. Let me, and I'm not taking issue with you. I know where you're going. We're speaking rhetorically and metaphorically here, so let's do both of those together. But did we really allow this to happen? I'm not sure that we did. We could go back and say the voters of Virginia allowed this to happen because they voted. That would be a very fair statement and a very true statement. But overarching, did we allow this to happen? How many lawsuits have we filed to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars over the years, Paul? Just the Second Amendment Foundation alone, not to mention the National Rifle Association and others. Local groups like VCDL, AZCDL, Georgia Care have countless lawsuits to try to stop this tyranny before it spreads across the country. We've spent hundreds and hundreds, if not billions of dollars over the years. That's let's call it like Trump, billions of dollars to stop this.
Billions of dollars, oh yeah.
So I don't know that, and we don't let this, we let it happen through elections by not paying attention or becoming complacent. When it happens, then we want to gripe and moan after it happens. So let's get into that a little bit. Well,
my feeling is, look, we had the year 2020, 2021, 22, the planned COVID, the pandemic. Mm-hmm. that was a huge test. Whether we admitted it or not, whether you wanted to admit it or not, or you wanted to hide in your living room or your basement pretending that it was all about
John Crumplehold.
that was a liberty test, and that was a liberty test placed upon the people of the United States. How much will these people allow us to abuse them before they will push back? And the sad answer is hardly at all. There were some few bright, glowing examples and pockets of resistance. But by and large, Mark, our neighbors folded like a house of cards. They folded like a house of cards. And they all had excuses for it. You know, they had the safety excuse, or they had the I can't lose my job excuse, or, you know, I have to take this shot because I have to have this job. I have to wear the mask. I have to do this. But the fact is, liberty is not about being comfortable. I feel like a crazy person.
It's in fact about being uncomfortable, quite frankly. And that's a 3-hour show in and of itself.
Everybody is afraid to be uncomfortable.
Well,
if I
have John on hold,
then I'll be uncomfortable.
Paul, hold 1 second for me. I know we have John Crump on the line, so I don't want to bring John in. John, I know you can hear. If you would, please be kind enough to stay with us through the break. And when we come back, I don't want to have to bring you in and then end the conversation right away. We'll continue with Paul, and then at the bottom half of the hour, we're going to bring you in. And we applaud you for what you've done. But Paul, to go back to that, yeah, it is. It's meant to be uncomfortable. Our founding fathers alluded to that. Freedom is not free. Freedom comes at great cost. Freedom requires a lot of work, and it requires. Well, I didn't.
Energy.
It does require energy. It requires a lot of energy. It also requires the ability to compromise. But those days are over. In America, they're done. The days of being able to work with the other side are finished. And the founders decided on this form of government as a constitutional republic to bring compromise to the forefront. We could agree to disagree, yet we would all be Americans. And we are way past that. You've got 20 seconds, Paul. Take us to the music.
The one thing we never compromise on, or we should never compromise
is our rights.
Is our rights.
That's why it's the Bill of Rights.
Rights.
That's why it was written in the Bill of Rights, because they are not to be compromised, and that's exactly right. When we go,
they're not up for compromise.
They are not up for compromise. That's why they are written into the Bill of Rights, ladies and gentlemen. Good heavens, it's not hard to understand this unless you're a commie. When we come back, John Crump, the plaintiff in the Virginia lawsuit, who's tuned into the program, will be here. Looking forward to talking to our friend John Crump. Right after these messages. Don't go away. This is going to be a good one. All right, guys, for those of you tuned in on the live stream yesterday with guitars, Mark's guitars, Mark and guitars, Mark's guitars, Mark with guitars, whatever you want to call it. I told you that I was going to show you this guitar that is behind me today. I showed you yesterday my Ibanez Geo, which was the first guitar I ever bought. It runs about $250 to $275. I graduated from that fairly quickly when I realized I was going to stick with playing guitar. And I have a great story about that from a gentleman by the name of Dave Donnelly, who owned a music shop by the name of Donnelly Music. I got to be good friends with him. I was taking lessons. His crew taught me how to play a few years back. And hanging on his wall was a Les Paul Studio that he had for sale for about $1,299. It was on consignment. A beautiful guitar. I don't have time to go into that one. But I was eyeballing that guitar. I wanted something much better than I had. And Mr. Donnelly refused to sell me the guitar. He said, I'm not going to sell you that guitar. And I said, why? He goes, it's obvious you're going to stick with it if you're interested in a Les Paul. He says, I'm going to sell you an Epiphone Les Paul for about $475, brand new, hanging right over there on the wall. And if you like that guitar, and I think you will, then you're going to want to go all in on a Gibson Les Paul. Mr. Donnelly was right. Sadly, Mr. Donnelly passed away. It will be 2 years upcoming in August. But it was sound advice. Very honest businessman. He could have sold me that guitar. And he, not being a Gibson dealer, authorized dealer anyway, resell and sell used guitars, he could have sold me that guitar for $1,299. He did not. Instead, he sold me this guitar, which is the Epiphone Les Paul Standard Pro 60. It's the Standard Pro 60 Les Paul model made by Epiphone. Epiphone owned by Gibson. This guitar is made in China, and it is every bit as playable, folks. If you're new to guitar, if budget is an issue, $475 for this guitar will take you everywhere you need to go. And of course, it's the classic Les Paul Sunburst design. Absolutely beautiful. I've got it plugged into a 40-watt Marshall in here right now. I wanted to make it squeal for you, but the audio just will not come out the way we have it set up with the microphones running through the network. It wouldn't sound good for you, but this thing squeals. Well, let's just say she squeals, okay? And I've got it plugged into a Ibanez tube screamer, and I've got it plugged in also running on the board into that Marshall in a Metal Master pedal. I believe it's a Boss Metal Master, and this bad boy will just scream like crazy. It's fun to play. There are differences between this and the Les Paul, the actual Gibson Les Pauls. The knobs are a little bit wonky, and you can feel the quality as you get used to and better playing. But this guitar will do everything you need it to do. So if you're looking at it, great step up. This is the Epiphone Standard Pro 60. Now they also have right now out, and I'm actually considering a couple of those for down the road. Money's an issue, so you gotta, can't buy guitars every day. Wish you could. How many more guns do you need? Just one more. How many more guitars do you need? Just one more. But Epiphone now has the line inspired by Gibson, and the quality of these guitars is off the hook. It's getting very hard to distinguish between the Epiphones and the Gibson models. They've got them in several models. As you just heard, Greg said we're coming back from the break. So there's your Mark with Guitars with Mark today. Hope you enjoyed it. Play, pick up, learn. See you back here in just a few seconds with John Crump and Paul Markel, student of the gun. Indeed. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the phone lines where we have John Crump. You know John Crump is a writer over at AmmoLand. John's the real deal, and John is now the real deal as he is he's the individual plaintiff listed on the Virginia lawsuit that was filed today. John, welcome into the program, brother, and thank you very much for calling in. Great to have you here, man, and congratulations. The cavalry's behind you, brother. Talk to us. What's going on? Fill us in.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, it's been crazy here in Virginia, and like I always like to say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And as being a native-born Virginian, I have to fight back against these tyrannical, draconian laws.
John, where are you from in Virginia? I know that state very well. I don't know if you know this about me, but I graduated from Radford University. I lived in Richmond, Midlothian, Reston, Herndon, and Virginia Beach. My sister lives up in Northern Virginia. I know the state well, and I'm very saddened to see what's happened to beloved Virginia, to the Commonwealth. I'm sick to my stomach over it, in fact. So people like you are taking a stand. Where are you from in Virginia?
Yeah, I grew up, and I still live in Loudoun County.
Okay.
I grew up in Sterling and live in Ashburn.
Yeah, all right. Well,
so I'm all the way up in Northern Virginia, in the heart of the beef.
Loudoun County. So, Paul, feel free to jump in at any time. Loudoun County is where all of the nonsense occurs, folks. John, has there been any? Let's talk a little bit about the gerrymandering before we get into some of the nuts and bolts of the case. Now that it's filed, we can talk about it because it is public record. But has there, since the gerrymandering was wiped out by the Supreme Court, how is Loudoun County itself handling that? Because that is a far, far left county you're in.
Yeah, it is a far, far left county. Most of my friends group and the people that I deal with are not far leftist. Well, like I send my kids to private school, like religious private school and stuff like that.
Smart move.
So, yeah, but there is a lot of people in Loudoun County that are like leftist, especially where I live at in Ashburn, because Ashburn is liberal. That aren't too happy with what the Supreme Court has done, but they broke the Virginia Constitution. They didn't follow the Constitution, so what happened is the right thing.
So let's go, Paul. I'm interested to ask a couple of these questions. I want you to jump in though, so let me get started. How long has this suit been planned? Knowing the answer in advance myself, tell people, how long has this been planned?
Well, once the election happened and we saw who won when Spamberger won, we knew exactly what was going to come down. So the planning of the lawsuit started all the way back probably right after the election day, because we knew it was going to come down.
Right.
We were just waiting. So we didn't have any specifics, but we knew that there was going to be something bad. Then once we saw the bill, the planning started a little bit more, and we were ready to file. I mean, if she would have signed it, the day that she would have signed it, we were ready to file at that point. But she delayed it by sending it back down to the legislature, which I think was a delay tactic, and it came back up. And she waited and waited and waited to sign it. And when she finally signed it, it was go time.
Were you under any illusion that she might not have, on the heels of Harmeet Dillon's threat to bring the U.S. DOJ Civil Rights Division in, were you under any illusion whatsoever that it was possible she did this in an effort to not only delay but possibly not sign the bill or ask for changes that she knew might not have happened? Or were you just you already knew that it was a done deal?
I already knew. She just waited to sign the bill to get it closer to July 1st. Mm-hmm. The only thing that was in my mind that she might have been doing is waiting out the 30 days and letting it just go into effect. Because in Virginia, if she doesn't sign it, it still goes into effect after 30 days.
Okay, so this is July 1, it goes into effect. Paul, jump in, would you?
Sure. And what you just said, John, will put me in mind of European politics. If you guys have ever followed European politics, I'm sure you guys have. I have my whole life. Such and such party wins in Italy or wins in Great Britain or whatever, and then everything changes, the way the government behaves and the laws. And from a United States standpoint, rights are not supposed to be linked to elections. You see, that makes us, if we allow our rights to be eroded or removed or taken away based on who wins the big chair, we're no different than Italy or France or Germany or Great Britain. We're no different than any of those countries. And we're supposed to be different. That's the whole point. The whole point, I mean, in the Bill of Rights, where are the guarantees to vote?
Yeah, we have a Bill of Rights. We don't have a Bill of Wants.
Or a Bill of Needs.
It's not a bill of, or suggestions or what have you. And, the biggest problem that we have as a nation is that we are in a position where the people are unwilling to be uncomfortable. They're unwilling to take a stand. And so you guys know this as well as I do, as far as the gun rights movement, we're always on the defensive.
We seem to be.
We wait until we're attacked and then we defend.
Yeah, that goes back to our statements earlier, Paul, when I was asking about, do we let this happen? Yes, we've spent hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in lawsuits, John, as you're very well aware about. You've covered them all over the years. But for crying out loud, that's still on the defensive because our lawsuits are reactionary to something that's happened that we didn't want to happen in the first place, which is why we had to sue. And John, you made that very clear when you just said we were ready on day one. I'm curious, what made you the ideal plaintiff here? How was that decided? Can you give any of that info up? Because it's great to have your name on the suit.
Yeah, well, David Brown contacted me. I talked to David Brown a lot. He is a VCDL attorney. I'm also very close to Rob Olson, who is a GOA attorney. He's like one of my best friends. So I was like, I'm gonna sue myself. I'm gonna fund it myself and everything else. And they were like, oh, why don't you just join us and do it? I was like, all right.
Yeah,
that saves me some money.
Well, guys, I always say cavalry's coming, Paul. The cavalry, the guy leading the charge, is on the phone with us right now. We're proud of you, man, and we're very thankful that your name is on this. Now, I will make a prediction here, which is hard to do when it comes to courts, but I think we have, Paul, I think you'll agree with me, we have history, we have precedent on our side. We have Heller, your own lawsuit quotes both Heller and Bruin. We know this isn't going to fly. And we have recent statements from Harmeet Dillon, who seemed to know something when she said SCOTUS was going to take one of these cases and rule that AR-15 bans are, in fact, unconstitutional. And, John, I'm going to tell you right now, well, we've got 30 seconds, so can you stay with us through the break, John, and come back with us? Because I've got a couple more questions for you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Good. Thank you. John Crump's going to stick with us. Paul Markel and I will be back with John Crump, who is the lead plaintiff in the case filed today in the state of Virginia, which we knew was going to happen. I did not know John's name was on the lawsuit. It's great to have him on the line with us. When we come back, we'll ask John some more questions about it. I've got a couple pointed questions relative to the suit itself, and we thank him for not only joining us, but for being the plaintiff in this lawsuit to smack down Virginia's tyrant, wicked witch of the East, who has done everything in her power to Californicate my once beautiful, beloved home state of Virginia. We'll be back with John and Paul right after the break. Yeah, welcome back, guys. Attorneys on Retainer card is right here in my hand. And I haven't mentioned a lot of our sponsors right now today because we had John jump on the phones with us, and we appreciate that very much. He's going to be back with us here in just a second. So I'm going to knock this out fast for you. You know what to do if you haven't done this yet. Rachel will be here on Sunday's program, one of the attorneys, self-defense attorneys at AAR, to talk about some recent cases and why this matters to you. So if you've not gotten off the fence yet and you're thinking about it, okay, I'll give you another day and a half. I'll give you 48 hours. I'll give you till Sunday. Wait till you hear Rachel talk about why this is so critical and so important. One of the attorneys who actually takes the calls, works the cases, and gets people acquitted for using their firearms or whatever tool they have at their disposal at that moment in time to defend themselves if they're prosecuted by an overzealous prosecutor for simply defending themselves. It is attorneysonretainer.us/AAR. You can find them and all of our great partners, including the Virginia Citizens Defense League, including Arizona Citizens Defense League, including Bud's Gun Shop, Daniel Defense, CZ, Car Arms, Blackout Coffee. They're all there for you. And we're also going to have coming up on Sunday's show, in addition to Rachel, Justin McNeil in South Dakota, politician, will be here. We have a huge lineup building for you. I'm not even sure we're going to be able to fit the roundtable in. That's how packed the lineup is going to be. So we'll see. We'll make it work. We always do. All of our great partners, you can find them all, including the NRA, at armedamericanradio.com. or .org. We got you covered. Paul Markel, welcome back in. Let's go back to John Crump as well. John, welcome back in, my friend. Thanks for sticking with me. I'm going to make a prediction here, was where I was going before we got cut off by the break. Do you think that your lawsuit will even see adjudication, or will it be mooted by the fact that the Supreme Court will take a case and end this nonsense, which they should have done? You should have never had to file this suit to begin with. Hindsight, there's always high definition in the rearview mirror, John. It's always high definition. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We've had indications from DOJ and many others, and we know if we get this case, we're going to win it. We're confident of that, as Mr. Gottlieb has made public on this show many, many times. Will the Supreme Court finally do its job here and end this nonsense and stop this case before it even has to go to adjudication?
Well, we might find out on Monday. Monday, there's some cases that might be granted cert or might be denied cert. We have to wait till Monday to find out. I always say if someone tells you they know what the Supreme Court's going to do, then they're not very good at their job, because no one really knows 100% sure. I can say I'm fairly confident they're going to take a case soon, but I don't know. Even if they do take a case, it's going to be months and months down the road.
Oh, yeah.
The case that I'm involved in is suing through a state court where we are pleading that the state is violating the Virginia Constitution, which is a little bit different from some of the other cases, because the Virginia Constitution, Article 1, Section 13, is very strong on gun rights. So I think what we're going to try to get is a preliminary injunction and a TRO before July 1st to prevent the law from going into effect, because if we have to wait for the Supreme Court, that's going to be months before the case is actually heard and months later before we get a decision. So the point of the case is to get that preliminary injunction to block the law from going into effect.
Care to make a prediction on the odds of that? I'd love to see you get a TRO here, which would be phenomenal. And I believe you have a case, because the Virginia Constitution is strong enough. But good heavens, like predicting Supreme Court, you can never really tell.
Yeah. I think we have a good chance. I'm never going to say, oh, this is going to be a slam dunk for us, because it never is. But I think we have a good chance, especially going through state court. The issue with the issue with the federal court, for example, the NRA case today, they got a judge drawn that is a Clinton appointee who is very anti-gun.
Right.
But I think we have a better chance in a state case, because the Virginia Supreme Court still leans conservative, where if you look at the federal level, the Fourth Circuit Court is the most anti-gun circuit in the country. That's where Snopes came out of.
Well, you're right.
So I think the best chance is on the state level, and this is one of the reasons why I decided to join this case particularly is because I see a real path to victory that doesn't have us waiting years and years to get to the Supreme Court level.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to get in Spanberger's head, but I will tell you this. I believe she's very well aware she's about to get slapped upside the head with a rolled-up Constitution and a rolled-up copy of the Bill of Rights. Paul, jump in on this. I think it was a brilliant maneuver in state court. Now you've got federal and state court going at it. Federal doesn't look real good right now, but particularly, as you mentioned, in that Fourth Circuit. Paul?
What I would like you guys to do is I'd like you to take the word gun out of the context and replace it with the term religion, or let's just say the term Christian. So if you were to say a judge is strongly anti-Christian or a judge is strongly anti-religion, would that not immediately disqualify them as a judge, right? If you were to say that, if you're saying, well, yeah, we all know that Judge Baker up in the Fourth District is been on record as being strongly anti-Christian or strongly anti-religion. Would we stand for that? See, while we were on the break, going back to the discussion we had at the very beginning, I said, since when do you have to be in the majority to enjoy rights? Mm-hmm. For instance, the top 10 Christian denominations in the United States by population or registered, participant, the Missouri Synod Lutheran is number 10. So basing that on how we view guns, could the governor of Virginia sign a law banning the establishment of Missouri Synod Lutheran churches within the Commonwealth of Virginia? Because they're not the most popular. They're not even in common use. So you say, well, they're not in common use. They're uncommon. Therefore, we have the authority, First Amendment be damned, to just ban them. And people are like, wow, it's guns and it's different. No, it's not.
No, it isn't. No, it's not.
Rights are rights are rights. And we wouldn't stand for it if a judge was on record as being, notedly anti-religion or notedly anti-Christian. We wouldn't stand for that. But we could sit here and we'll have a conversation and say, well, Judge Jones is notedly anti-gun. That is a disqualifier. And that person should be disqualified, but we don't because we're cowards and we're afraid to be uncomfortable.
Yeah, and liberty is not comfortable all the time. John Crump, I want to thank you for being here, brother. You got the final word. We're proud of you, and congratulations, man. I'm looking forward to bringing you on the Sunday Monster Cast as well. We'll reach out to you this week. We'll see if we can't bring you on Sunday's program and squeeze you in. Very, very important stuff. John Crump, thank you. Any final word before you head out today? Start your weekend. Congratulations.
Just that people got to do more than just paying their $25 or whatever. You have to get involved. You have to get involved in these lawsuits, and you have to get involved with the citizen lobbying.
It's a must, ladies and gentlemen, vcdl.org. This is why we need your support there and in Arizona to keep Arizona from happening, over at AZCDL to keep Arizona from becoming Virginia. You are all Virginians. John, you have our support. Glad to stand behind you as the leader of the cavalry, brother. We appreciate it. Thanks for being here. Paul Markel, student of the gun, SOTGU.com. Use that promo code AAR, get 15% off. Guys, enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. I'll see you on the radio on Sunday. All right, guys. Glad we got that call from John Crump. That was unexpected, and glad he was tuning into the program today, and glad he was able to jump in. I think that's probably the first public comments that he's likely made, at least in this format, and we appreciate that very much. VCDL.org, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a long-fought battle. It's not going to happen overnight. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a temporary restraining order and an injunction here in the meantime. But I think it was a brilliant maneuver moving in state like that. Let me put it this way. VCDL knows what they're doing, folks. This is not their first rodeo. So the cavalry has charged, and we're going to follow it like crazy. Guys, here's your deal. Carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever been caught outside his cave without his club. Enjoy your day. Stay safe out there. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you Sunday on the Monster Cast.